Hey friends, welcome to Friday. We made it another week. Today is Friday, August 28th, and I hope you're looking forward to a great weekend. What we're going to do today is talk about proportional tables. But before we do that, let's talk about what we're planning to do today. So, our learning target is to use a table to reason about quantities that are in a proportional relationship and understand the terms of proportional relationships and constant of proportionality. Okay, so those are vocabulary that we're going to talk about. But before we talk about constant of proportionality, let's just review proportional relationships first. So that's just a relationship between two ratios where both are multiplied by the same scale factor. And we talked about yesterday 3 ways to determine proportional relationships. We said cross multiplying, which is also what you guys learned in elementary school as the butterfly method. We talked about scale factor, where you multiply from one ratio to the next for the same units and decide if they have the same scale factor. And then we also talked about simplifying fractions and finding that unit rate to see if the unit rates are equal. And with the cross multiplying, when you multiply, the product has to be equal. So let's move on to constant of proportionality, okay? So, all right, so we have a bakery, and they're going to use 8 tablespoons of honey for every 10 cups of flour to make bread dough. Some days they make bigger, some days they make smaller batches, but they always use the same ratio. We're going to complete this table and answer these questions. So, first question is, how many cups of flour do they use with 20 tablespoons of honey? Well, they already wrote this ratio, 8 tablespoons for every 10 cups of flour. So let's figure out, using that same ratio, how many cups of flour they need for 20 tablespoons of honey. So remember, when we have a proportional relationship, they have the same scale factor. And we know how to find scale factor because we know it is the number that you multiply by to go from one unit to the next. So 8 times some number gives us 10. Remember, if I don't know that it's going to be a whole number and I can't find a factor or multiple of something, I can divide, do the inverse operation. And remember, we are going to not multiply by 8 now. We're going to divide by 8, and we're going to divide our product by 8. 10 divided by 8. I can simplify this fraction into 5 over 4. And if I want to, I can make it a decimal. I could say 1.25. 1 1/4, 1.25, or 5 over 4. All right? I'm going to use 5 over 4 just for the sake of today. Okay? So, let's find how many cups for 20 tablespoons. So I know that because these are proportional, they're all going to have the same scale factor, 5 over 4, 5/4. So let's find for 20. 20 over 1 times 5 over 4. So 20 times 5 is 100. 1 times 4 is 4. And that simplifies to 25 cups of flour. So my answer would be 25 cups. Now, number 2, how many cups of flour do they need with 13 tablespoons of honey? So I'm going to make 13 into a fraction, and I'm going to do 13 times 5. I'm just going to do that to the side here. I get 65 over 4. Now, when we're talking about units of things, we could leave this an improper fraction, but what I did was go ahead and make that into a mixed number. So I've got 16 and 1/4 cups of flour. And the last one, how many tablespoons of honey will they use for 20 cups of flour? This time, we don't know the tablespoons of honey, but we know the cups of flour. So, some number times 5/4 gives me 20. Instead of multiplying by 5/4, I'm going to divide by 5/4, and I'm dividing my product 20. So 20 over 20 over 1, we're going to do keep, change, flip. I'm going to keep the first number, change division to multiplication, flip the second fraction, and make it 4/5. Now I am going to multiply straight across. 20 times 4, 1 times 5. I get 80 over 5. And this will simplify into 16. All right? And don't forget your units because we're talking about cups of flour but tablespoons of honey. And the very last question, what is the proportional relationship represented by this table? So we know we need a scale factor. So we can say scale factor is 1 tablespoon of honey is going to give us 1.5 or 1.25 or 5/4 cups of flour. And essentially, guys, this is the unit rate because 1 tablespoon of honey times 5/4 gives us 5/4 or 1.25 cups of flour. Okay, so that's our unit rate, the amount for 1. All right, so let's talk about this really quick and then we'll do another practice. So, constant of proportionality. That is what we're calling the unit rate for a proportional relationship. So you guys learned the unit rate, you've learned scale factor. Now we're talking about constant of proportionality. And constant means it doesn't change. So for this table that was in your notes, we said that between the pairs in a row, you're just multiplying by a scale factor. But between this entire set of information for A and the entire set of numbers for B, the relationship is a constant of proportionality. So let's explore it just a little bit. Oops. There we go. So I've got 2 tables here, and I want to find the COP. You're going to hear me say that a lot. That is just short for constant of proportionality. So I've got number of cases and number of rolls of paper towels. We could have really used this in March and April when we had a shortage, right? All right, so I want to know, what am I multiplying by all these numbers in each row to get to the product over here? So 1 times some number gives me 12. 1 times 12. 3 times something gives me 36. Is it 12? Yes, it is. 5 times 12 is 60. 10 times 12 is 120. So you see, 10 times 12. So you see our COP, or constant of proportionality, or you can say the scale factor or unit rate, is going to be 12. Okay? Now, this table over here is not completely filled in. So let's figure out whatever that constant of proportionality is and then fill in this table. So 6 times some number gives me 3. I know that 3 is 1/2 of 6. So 6 times 1/2 gives me 3. So if I had 1 roll and I wanted to know the number of people, 1 times 1/2 is going to be half. So whatever our people is, it's half the number of rolls. So what is half of 30? 15. What is half of 40? 20. And now some number times 1/2 is 28. So 28 is 1/2 of what number? Well, if I take and go backwards this way and multiply 28 by 2, that gives me 56. So I know that 56 is the number of spring rolls. Okay? So let's do one on your own. I want you to pause the video. I want you to work on this one on your own, and then we'll go over it together in just a second, and that way you can practice. Okay, welcome back. Let's go over this. We have 4 quarters equal to 10 dimes, and they wrote that in our table here. We want to know how many dimes equal the value of 6 quarters. Well, we could figure it out by counting the money and things like that, but we can do it just by playing with this table. 4 times what number gives me 10? That's our constant of proportionality. 4 times 2.5. Because I know that 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times half is 2, so that would give me 10. I could also do this as 5 over 2 if I was going to divide and simplify, whichever one works. So I'm going to fill in the rest of my table for 1/4 and how many dimes that is. And now how many dimes equals 6/4? Multiply by 2.5 here, and you will get 15 dimes. And then multiply by 2.5 again, and you get 35 for 14 dimes. So what value belongs next to the 1? That's 2.5. That is our proportional relationship. 1/4 for every 2.5 or 2.5 or 5 over 2 dimes. All right? So your practice for today, friends, is to make sure that you understand the constant of proportionality, read the questions and answer them. And then for the last question, it wants to know, is this a proportional relationship? And if it is, that would mean that the scale factor or constant of proportionality is the same number between each column. If it is, I want you to tell me what the constant of proportionality is. If it is not, I want you to tell me why it's not, or show me why it is not. Don't forget that you have a notes assignment due Tuesday, and make sure that you enjoy your weekend and make sure that you get your work done. Remember to look at grades on Canvas, and you can see any missing grades or grades that are not what they should be. Okay? Have a great weekend.